The regular city council meeting for Monday, November 15th, 2021 to order at 6:44 p.m. And we'll dispense with our normal opening ceremonies because we did that before all of the meetings started. And we'll move straight into public comments. Is there anyone wishing to speak?
I don't have anyone signed up.
All right. Then we'll move into presentations, and I would like to ask Bruce Hillegeist on behalf of Resale with a Purpose to come forward and tell us what he's got today.
Good evening, Council. Mayor. My name is Bruce Hillegeist, 29201 Quinn Road. I work as president of Greater Tomball Chamber. This is a good week. We've got a parade, a pageant, it's a happy time. It's really, when you want to think of Tomball as it really is, this is a good week for people to come in and see what Tomball's all about. And along with that, I want to thank you all for the services that you'll provide so we can present the parade. Happy that most of you will be here, except Mr. Dix. You will be there.
I had to check my corporate.
Yes.
Along with what Tomball does as its best, I'm here tonight just representing Resale with a Purpose. And Resale with a Purpose was begun a few years ago by just some volunteers, people that wanted to give back to the community in a certain way. And what they decided to do was to share their different expertise and different professions and came together and opened a resale shop where 100% of all the profit made goes back into the community. And so a lot of nonprofits and other organizations have benefited from Resale with a Purpose. Over $2 million they've been giving back to the community in the last so many years. I would like to recognize some of the board members who are here. We have Randy Chapman. We had to have Brett Horton for that. He was here as well. So on behalf of Larry and Brad Bartlett, Brett Horton, and also Jody Bartlett, who am I leaving? We are here to present to the Tomball Fire Department a $10,000 donation check, and also the Tomball Explorer program, a $10,000 check. Now, what that's going to go towards it's for Holiday with the Hero, which is December the 4th at 9 o'clock. We'll be taking young people to Walmart and Tomball, giving them about $300 a piece to go and shop and do what they want with that money. If you've not ever seen that, you actually need to do so. December 4th, Tomball Walmart. We've been talking to Tomball Walmart and also Spring Cypress Walmart, and everybody's buying it. So I would like to have, if I could, have Barry come up, and then I guess Chief Secor with the check, and then also the Explorer program. I know some young people here. I'm the chairman of the Explorer, so I guess I can name it myself. It's a combined effort between, let's just the Tomball Police Department, but now it's the Public Works staff, and most of the city officials, fire, and all working together. That's really what makes us a strong group. I could make that presentation. Brandon, congratulations. Congratulations. Two really good people on these shows.
Yep, I need to get it to move back. What we run over you, David. But I still tell them, don't you?
Victoria Club is our secretary. Does an awesome job keeping us together. And these young people do the fabulous job. We have competitions every week.
Okay.
Larry, can you, Bruce? Well, actually, go around and let our council thank you for everything that you do for our community. Hi, great. Go around to our council.
Yeah. My understanding.
Show him, Justin.
Yes.
That's only the high
Tracy. The laser point work.
Oh, never. You good?
Totally forgot to, I need to tell you about the grade. Totally forgot to work my brain 2 weeks ago.
Good job.
Hello again.
Sorry, late on my.
Hey, Kel. Oh, man, look at Joe, the check. That's right. You're looking for that one. Thank you.
Yeah, you don't need to give me,
Yeah. What?
I was very tempted to start chanting.
Yeah.
Then I decided that would be very unprofessional.
Yeah.
That's fine. I got my own.
I got mine.
I brought my own. I didn't know we were gonna have it out, so I brought my own. Mine's purified. Y'all's is spring.
I think next year, I think.
Mine's mineral. and-
All right, we ready to get started?
Election occurs 2022.
Okay, we're going to move on to reports and announcements. December 4th is Deck the Depot at the Plaza. December 10th through the 12th is the German Christmas Market. November 20th is the 56th Annual Holiday Parade that Bruce mentioned just a little while ago. The 19th of November, we have lighted up tree lighting at the depot at 6:30. And November 29th will be the public hearing to consider supporting the creation of a tax increment reinvestment zone to facilitate development of the Lovett Industrial located within the corporate limits of the city of Tomball, and that will be a special meeting. And now reports by city staff. Mike.
Good evening. We had a good weekend this past weekend. Got two things to talk about. The first is Depot Day. It's an annual event that we hold here, and it's a national model railroad event celebrated across the country every year. So attendance wise, we did 700 people this year, and that's 300 more than 2 years ago before the COVID pandemic came in. Our model railroad displays were the main reason people came down to the depot. So we had Mr. Dave's Z gauge, the small trains inside the depot. We had the Lionel O scale inside the caboose. And then we had a 40 by 80 foot G scale layout from the Houston G Gaugers Club. They came here again this year. And these are the cars that are about this big under the big tent down there. We had live bluegrass music and railroad tunes. Volunteers were dressed in railroad attire. We gave away the Rusty Rails characters that we've had for so many years to kids. And then we had special giveaways for the best dressed costumed adults that came down there, because there are always adults that come with their kids dressed in railroad attire. So it was a really good event. The second thing is last week was the Texas Festivals and Events Association conference that we attend every year. And excuse me, it was in San Antonio this year. There were more than 300 participants from festivals and destinations all across the state, educational classes that were covering more than 40 topics, including certification classes that all of our marketing employees have gone through or going through. That's for certification from the Texas Event Management Institute. That's a part of TFEA. Because of the fewer number of events that we held over the past 18 months due to the pandemic, we only submitted into 8 categories this year. And out of that 8, we brought home gold in 6. So proportionally, that was a really good turnout for us. Our gold awards this year were for the best virtual event, which was last year's lighted up Christmas tree lighting, which was streamed live on Facebook. The best new event was for the 20th anniversary 9/11 remembrance that we had a couple of months ago. We won for best single newspaper ad for Groove Fest, best radio spot for Groove Fest, best event photo for Groove Fest, and for the 8th time since 2012, Rusty Rails won best mascot in the entire state. So it was a really good weekend.
And thank you for always representing us so well, Mike. Look, I'm trying to compliment, he's not even paying attention. All right, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of November 1st, 2021, regular council meeting.
So moved.
Any questions? I'll call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, and then we move to old business, which was the second reading on ordinance 2021-36R. And the landowner has requested that we take no action on this tonight because they're still talking with the city on what they're going to be able to do. And so they've requested that we hold off on that until a future agenda. All right, new business.
Mayor and council, this is to conduct a public hearing for the purpose of considering the following annexation, the tract of parcel containing the 240.075 acres of land for zero Boudreaux Road and Rocky Road for Lovett Industrial.
Okay. So it is 6:56. I'll open the public hearing for the purpose of considering the annexation that Tracy just told us about. Is there anyone wishing to speak? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move on to the second item.
Mayor and council, this is for the adoption of the first reading of ordinance number 2021-37 for the zero Boudreaux Road Lovett Industrial.
All right, and I'll entertain a motion to read ordinance number 2021-37 by caption only on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously. Ordinance number 20-21-37, ordinance of the city of Tomball, Texas, extending the city limits of said city to include all of the territory within certain limits and boundaries, and annexing to the city of Tomball all of the territory within such limits and boundaries, approving a service plan for all of the area within such limits and boundaries, containing other provisions relating to the subject and providing a savings and severability clause, being a tract or parcel containing 240.075 acres of land situated in the August Sinurchu Survey, abstract number 722, Harris County, Texas, being a residue of a called 3.314.8179 acres described in deed to ExxonMobil Corporation as recorded under Harris County's clerk file number W883345, with said 240.075 acre tract being partially described by meets and bounds provided herein, Harris County, Texas, 0 Boudreaux Road, Lovett Industrial. Harris County Appraisal District number 045-026-00000004.
All right, thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 2021-37 on first reading.
Motion. Second.
All right, any questions on this? All right, call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, that brings us to the next item. Nathan.
Right. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Nathan Dietrich with the Community Development Services. This is a zoning case that is for Lovett Industrial that we have been talking about for the last number of items. At this particular time, we would like to extend this public hearing until the following meeting due to the fact that we are still in discussions with the owner at this time. We are trying to coordinate uses and other buffering items for this particular development agreement.
What I would recommend is that we have the mayor open the public hearing and then recess the public hearing until the 29th, since we've already published notice of it. That gives anybody that really, wanted to be here, speak about it, is here tonight, and they will be notified that the next meeting, they will have an opportunity to speak at the next meeting, which is on November 29th.
Great.
Is that all right?
Works for me. Okay. And with that, it is 7 o'clock. And I'm going to open the public hearing and then recess the public hearing to the 29th.
Correct.
All right, very good.
And the meeting time is 6 o'clock on the 29th.
That's the special meeting though for the tours. Is that the rezoning now being added to the special meeting on the 29th?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And so just to, further clarify what's happening here. So we took the rezoning because we're trying to run a parallel with the annexation. So as soon as annexation, we can do the rezoning. It's all trying to meet the schedules. Well, as we move forward with the zoning of the property with the light industrial zoning, there's certain uses in light industrial that we believe as staff are recommending that we add into a list in the development agreement to restrict this development from being able to do. It's something that it's a mutual agreement between us and the developer because there are certain uses that they don't want either in that. So it's a comfort level that it's not just an open zoning for light industrial. And so in order to do that, we're still in the negotiations of that list of restricted uses. So instead of having the rezoning approved tonight, we could still meet all of the advertisings for the public hearings, but move the action of the actual rezoning until the 29th.
The special, so we'll be adding that to the agenda.
Yes,
of the
ma'am.
special
Correct.
meeting, not doing it on December, the first meeting in December.
Correct.
Correct.
Because it takes 2 readings and it needs to be done by December 6th.
Correct.
Since it's agreed upon by the property owner, developer, and the city, we don't have any issues with spot zoning, correct?
Correct.
I just want to make sure that we don't get ourselves in a situation where we got 240 acres out here and we're doing zoning on it. I don't wanna
And
get in a
frankly,
situation of being spot.
240 acres is big enough, I think, just in and of itself to avoid spot zoning.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And it has to be done by the 6th. Is that a state requirement or is
It's a
that a
de-
developer?
A developer
requirement?
requirement.
Based on their purchase of the property and certain agreements that they have. And Charlie could probably speak more to it, but that's been our goal end date to get everything done.
And that's run by the developer.
All right. Want to tell us about the zoning?
No, we're just gonna put this off.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions or give the presentation. I thought we would just wait until we would.
No, I'm
meet
at the
on
next.
Oh, I see. Of course.
Oh.
Well,
I've already
and of course I
gone.
could do that.
That
No
was
problem at
so
all.
10 seconds ago.
Item 4.
I got to keep up.
There we
I'm
go.
sorry about that. I'm sorry. All right.
It's all the
So,
caffeine up here.
So this is a new zoning case that is located on the western boundaries of Tomball, located right at FM 2920 and Tomball Cemetery Road. It's currently a vacant piece of property that is looking to develop into a multifamily use, but is being requested for a planned development in this particular location. Currently, as you can see, it is zoned commercial, and they are moving forward with a planned development or a request for a planned development here to City Council in order to solidify certain types of uses, materials, landscaping, and other amenities associated with the project. The future land use is commercial corridor, which is in line with what a multifamily use product can be, especially if it is housed within a planned development. So the project description is a 360 unit multifamily project. It has a number of efficiency units, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units, all larger than what is requested or a minimum requirement within our code. The amenities will include fitness center, dog parks, pools, outdoor pavilions, barbecue grills, landscape walking trails around an amenity pond or, detention area, bocce ball courts, recreational reserves, playgrounds, and additional open spaces and landscape buffers. There is a maximum of the height of these buildings to be 45 feet in height and a minimum density of 20 dwelling units per acre, which equates to the 360 units. The masonry and hardy veneer will be included in with the plan development in order for us to govern what those looks or what the looks of the buildings will be in the end. Again, as I was saying, it's along commercial corridor and its uses and appropriately zoned uses within this area are supported by the future land use plan. And the reason why they're asking for this plan development is because they want to solidify and keep within the development rather than just having a straight zoning for multifamily, is that it will maintain and keep that aesthetic appeal for years to come. Again, here is a site plan of the applicant's proposal. As you can see along the frontage of 2920, they have extended landscape buffers and also along Tomball Cemetery Road, running north and south there. Sorry, I don't have it pointed, but as you can see along the major frontages of the roads that it fronts on. And then additionally, they're showing the other amenities that are situated around the facility. There are dog parks, there's a hammock garden, there's a number of other walking trails that the users will be able to use within the development itself. One of the deviations that are included within plan development, which plan developments usually have, that don't meet certain requirements within the code, the current code, is the parking. So they're going to be having a lesser amount of parking area per dwelling unit, but just by a small fraction. It'll be about 10% less than what is usually out there. We felt that in this particular case, staff had recommended that we do this lesser amount of parking because we're gaining additional green space on the project itself. And when the client comes up forward, they'll kind of explain it a little bit further for you. Again, some of the considerations that were looked at from planning and zoning also included additional landscaping, walking trails, elevated masonry materials, and other items that we have included as part of the ordinance inside your packages. So when we come to the recommendations from staff and from planning and zoning included those additional requirements to be placed within the PD itself. So as you can see, city staff recommended to approve this zoning map amendment with the additional elevated requirements, which is included in with the ordinance, and planning and zoning recommended the same. But what I wanted to notate to you is that this involved actually planning and zoning tabled this item for an additional time frame. So they were able to request additional information from the applicant. Part of what they asked for was a TIA to be included and submitted to planning and zoning, which they had done, and that was also a part of your package. What ended up happening with that TIA is that after it was analyzed, they found that it did not warrant any additional traffic mitigation items for that area at this particular time. So that was great. That conclusion was there. Additionally, we asked for some elevated standards when it came to security fencing and the way that the project looked from FM 2920 and also from Tomball Cemetery Road. So they elevated that request to where we're going to have 8-foot tall masonry vertical columns based approximately, I think, 12 to 16 feet wide and then having a wrought iron fencing between those along both frontages. Also, they elevated their landscaping and internal amenities, buffering the project and, to increase to increase the amenity and the visual aesthetic of the property. And then again, have also added in the superior materials that have been included within the development or the plan development itself. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions, or I know the applicant's here to answer any questions that you may have too.
Nathan,
Yes, sir.
and this is also for our legal counsel, when legislation was passed that stated we no longer can tell people how they can build their buildings in our communities, by putting this in the PID, are we still within the boundaries of being legal to do so?
Yes.
Thank you.
The applicant's here.
Yes. And they have the presentation. Sasha, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
All right, if you could come forward and give us your name and home address.
Hello, my name is Tolu Akindele. Home address is 2021 Fannin Station, Houston, Texas, 77045.
On top.
Thanks. So as Nathan mentioned, our proposal here is for plan development that includes 360 units of multifamily apartments. And so what I'm going to do is just share with you ideas included in this project. And so as Nathan mentioned, we spent the last 5 months working with the city staff, P&Z Commission, to come up with a development plan that meets the market demand, the city's requirements and standards. And we think this is a great opportunity to refresh the current inventory. And that's what we're showing through our presentation. Site is currently zoned commercial corridor, of which multifamily is one of the uses. And it's located on the western edge, the first track on the west side of Tomball. And major thoroughfare 2920 fronts the property. And we've completed a full TIA study to show that the density from this property can be handled by this actual street. The biggest thing about our development, Tomball is mainly a single family community. And we think there's a good opportunity to provide luxury type housing to middle income Americans, people making between 42 to 60,000, which is kind of the target market here. And those that demographic really includes a lot of young professionals, health workers, retail clerks, restaurant workers, and those types of job types in terms of demographic. And we believe this is a natural gateway from renting a multifamily unit into owning a home in Tomball, which we're pro owning homes. So we think this is just a sort of a natural progression. The property is approximately a little over 18 acres. And we are proposing to meet at the minimum the multifamily ordinance with additional enhancements to go above and beyond. And we think the plan development gives all parties involved an opportunity to have input to make sure we're upholding that standard. And here's just a location of where the property is located on the west side of Tomball, away from the core. Here's a picture of the property, sort of looking back into the city. And really a mass map of Tomball, concentration of retail on the east side and the surrounding homes. We could not find a better tract and location for this type of development. Ability to feed the residential with that retail to the east. HEB owns a tract just 2.8 miles west of the property, and it's on the major thoroughfare. So why Tomball? I think just naturally we try to look for communities where there's a high barrier of entry and there's a high standard in terms of building. It's better for us as builders because we know the target market we're attracting. can not only just afford that type of apartment, but it allows us to meet a higher demand level, a higher finish level and property layout level. So if you look at Tomball as a whole, there are 5,284 units in the city. Majority of the inventory that sits within the zoning limits really dates back to late 70s and late 90s. So this is a good opportunity to refresh, capture some of that revenue that comes from a development such as this one, and allow the younger demographic, I think, that would want to stay in the city as the city grows to be able to afford luxury housing. And here's just a map that shows that concentration I mentioned relative to the zoning district. And as far as superior design goes, I think when you look at I visited every apartment building within the city of Tomball zoning limit, and this is really a picture of what an average apartment looks like today. And so I think what we're doing is enhancing this baseline and creating more of a superior design and layouts. So as part of our proposal, paid for by us, we will put a welcome to Tomball sign on the western side. So it's the first property you see coming in, welcomes residents and visitors coming into the city. And as Nathan mentioned, here's a site plan of the property. The southern portion is where detention pond. We're gonna make that an amenity with walking trails, manicured landscaping, additional buffers around the frontage of the property and the east side of the property on Tomball Cemetery. And one note here to mention is we made a correction to meet the fire code. The access lane to the city's water well will be 26 feet, not 24. And additional amenities as mentioned in the package, easy tag controlled access, security, high fencing, pool amenities, Amazon lockers, really as nice as you can get in suburban apartment living. And here's a picture of the detention pond. Again, manicured lawns, more green space, enhanced quality of life. And a rendering of the property looking from 2920. And going into the specifics of the project in terms of design, building layouts. Just gonna highlight a few things. It's kind of what I said earlier about the green space. We're gonna, in all cases here, with the exception of less than a handful of deviations, we're gonna meet the multifamily zoning ordinance as is currently written. One point relative to parking, the statement was that the parking, it has a capacity to meet 1.95 per unit. That parking is based on unit type. So based on what the market demand is for certain type of units, that's what ends up being the mixed type. So we're asking for 1.75 stalls for every unit and 2 stalls for every 2-bedroom units. And if you compare that to most major cities in Texas, San Antonio, for example, the minimum is 1.5 per unit with a max of 2. And City of Houston is 1.7. So I think we're again, allowing for more parking relative to competitors, as well as additional green space. So I think it's the best of both worlds there. And going in relative to our traffic study, what we thought was best is to have the main entrance be really the only entry point, and the side street be an emergency entrance. But that's going to be a main exit. So going on 2920, it has 2 entrances from the front, and you can exit from the front or from the side with an emergency entrance on the side if you need that to access the property. While offering all the amenities and everything we mentioned, again, we still are going to meet the multifamily density requirement of 20 or less. We're right at 20, 19.94, we're rounding up. And we're going to make the comment earlier about what's enforceable. I think that as part of our process and our thoughts into this development is, whether it's enforceable or not, we want to go above and beyond. We want to work with you guys to make sure we're offering what we believe is best in class asset in this community. So we're going to make everything facing the major thoroughfare to look every part of Tomball. Masonry, clubhouse, incorporate some of the character of Tomball in terms of its history in the clubhouse. The property is going to have more amenities really than any other property in the city. additional buffers for landscaping, enhanced quality of life, enjoyment of the tenants. And then I mentioned the aesthetically enhanced detention pond for tenants. And here's a list of all the amenities from an interior standpoint. So the thing to highlight here is my partner Sean really cut his teeth in the spec home, custom home building space before multifamily. So we figured out a way to bring that same high-end design to the multifamily community. And so everything from stainless steel appliances to soft close shelves and cabinets to trash valet to the fridge look that looks as though it's built into the property. We're naming this items which you would normally not find in a zoning requirement. We're naming this into our PD to make sure we meet that standard at all times. And as far as the exterior goes, again, additional buffers, large and small dog parks, pet wash stations, large fence, higher fence, large private fence on select one unit floor plans, kind of give it that home feel. Multiple green space courtyards, pooling chairs and pool with in water lounge chairs and poolside pavilions. And here's a landscaping plan that we've put together from a previous project. Again, to mention this landscaping plan meets the section 50-113 of the Tomball Code of Ordinance. So at minimum, we're going to meet that requirement. Our hope is to go above that. As part of our conversation with P&Z, we agreed to no pine trees. Apparently that's a thing around here, no pine trees. So we have no problem with no pine trees. And we've also mentioned that we're willing to work with the city for an approved list of trees. So we recognize that as part of the city's character, so we're okay with that. And here's a picture of the pond mentioned earlier, more specific and zoomed in. And then again, the screening requirements meets the section 50-115 of the Tomball Code of Ordinance, and it goes above and beyond. We're even going to put the enclosure around the refuse containers to be masonry as well. And I mentioned the access for the city to get to the water well. We're going to give the city access code or Knox box that allows at any time to be able to get there. So we, as part of our early just pre-development work, we went ahead and got a TIA report done, a full detail report in accordance of TxDOT, because 2920 is a TxDOT road. And as part of that conclusion and recommendation from the engineer, the report came back with no requirements for traffic signals at the main entrance or at Tomball Cemetery in 2920. And really the main conclusion that came back from that report was really just stop controlled pathways, which we're more than happy to put in. And one important thing here is we could have used ODATA to conclude this report, but we got this done in real time in October to make sure we're capturing the amount of vehicles going on that street, both during peak hours and nighttime hours. And additional pictures of the interior of the property. Again, modernized features on the inside, and then the exterior fits the character of Tomball. And lastly, really to culminate the presentation is just the market data study, really what drives part of my interest in the project, along with serving the local community with the great property. When you look at Tomball, as I mentioned, majority of what falls within the zoning district is a bit dated. Really, the three properties that are outside of the zoning district but are zoned to Tomball schools would be Sink down 249, and then the two assets on North Point, and then the new one on Boudreaux is not zoned to Tomball School, that's zoned as Klein schools. So we would we're very much competitive with all those properties in terms of what we want to build here. So being able to capture the same demographic, if not better, Because we know Tomball has great schools in terms of its rating, funding, just the way that the community is ran. So we think we're in a better position. And this illustrates really my point about where we think we fit in the marketplace. So, if you look at Tomball, I think the average home in the community is about $394,000. But if you take the median home value of $300,000, a family would have to make $86,000. And before you get to being a family, you're probably a single person. So you've got to afford just as nice as living. And so you would have to live in our community as an average. So you've got to make about $50,000 a year. And lastly, I've read through all of Tomball's fiscal online documents, and I don't think you guys are needed the money, but it doesn't hurt to have additional revenue coming into the city. So the ability to capture that in this development is a plus. So I'm just illustrating that. I mean, one thing that caught me by surprise is City of Tomball reduces tax rate. I've never seen that, so we'll take it. And lastly, I think this is very important. I think it's also really one of the main reasons why we do it, right? You fast forward in your life, you get in a house, you're happy, but there's sort of that period where you've got to live in an apartment building. And this is just feedback from tenants that live in previous projects, and really from tenants to realtors who have visited the property. The feedback is that it creates an environment that you can live and play and enjoy family. And then when you can afford to buy a house, you're ready to buy a house. This is a video. I don't know if you can click on that video. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. And when we get into discussion, we might bring you up for more questions.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, and with that, it is time to listen to Nathan.
Oh, no, I just came back up.
Oh, it's a public hearing.
Oh, okay.
All right,
He's ready.
it's 7:27. And we will open the public hearing. And is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And then I will entertain a motion to read ordinance 2021-35 by caption only on first reading.
Second.
Any questions? Call for the vote.
Just gonna take a second. You give me the slow computer.
Slow person.
Surely coincidental. Remember the days when you just raised your hand
Or you just said aye.
or said,
Yeah, cool. Or I call on you.
those were good times.
Good times.
Motion carries unanimously.
Now I forgot what it was for.
That was.
Caption, reading.
Caption reading.
I'm gonna read the caption now.
She's gonna read the caption.
Ordinance number 2021-35, an ordinance of the city of Tomball, Texas, requesting to amend chapter 50 zoning of the Tomball Code of Ordinances official zoning map for property that is approximately 18 acres of land legally described as tracts 1B and 2C, abstract 311C Goodrich, within the city of Tomball, Harris County, Texas, from commercial district to the planned development district PD 18, being generally located at the northwest corner of the intersection of FM 2920 and Tomball Cemetery Road, providing for severability, providing for a penalty of an amount not to exceed 2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof, making findings of fact and providing for other related matters.
All right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-35 on first reading.
Second.
All right, questions, comments?
Joe, have you seen any of the plans? And being 3 stories, you're gonna have a stick that can get into the property with easy access on all approaches, correct?
26 feet, that's that 26-foot right away, or 26-foot fire lane is for the aerial apparatus.
So, but I'm talking about as far as coming in off of, what's the side street called? Tomball Cemetery. I don't believe that that's gonna give you enough room to put a stick in there. Somebody's gonna have to do something to make that wide enough, I'm afraid. Because you're only talking about what, a 24-foot wide driveway, according to what I saw.
Without having the actual drawings set up.
I just want to make sure that we can get any apparatus we need in there because it's multi-story.
Still being able to get in, looking at the plans as they've been presented, as we've been looking at through the last few months. We're able to come in off of 2920, it's so wide that you're looking at. Area right there.
So you can get to any one of the buildings.
Yes, you can get to any one of the buildings.
I just, you know how I am. Those will be sprinkled buildings, correct? Thank you. Including the clubhouse? Yeah, thank you.
I have a question, very nice. Yeah, very nice presentation. Thank you. Do you have a question? Will it have an elevator? Is there any accommodations for wheelchairs or handicap or such like that? Because, you know, it may be someone who is in the last trimester of life that would want to live there too. not
Yeah,
just the
absolutely.
first
Yeah.
trimester. So that's 0 to 30, 30, 60, 69, three trimesters. So that's what I was asking.
Yeah, so we don't have an elevator, it's only 3 stories. And we can work with you guys to figure out the ADA compliance relative to that demographic.
The door's going to be the entrance into the apartments wide enough to accommodate that in the bathrooms or?
Currently, we just have it built to the multifamily zoning code. So we didn't accommodate for that, but
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
come
sure.
up to the microphone
Maybe have one component of the apartments that.
and give us your name also.
accommodate that.
Yes, sir. My name is Sean Rattery. So all the first floor units are built to fair housing standards. So it'll have the slim thresholds, it's a 1/4 inch. And I think we'll have 11 units that are ADA with the grab bars installed right off the bat. But all the first floor units will also have blocking in the walls, so we can add grab bars later.
Okay. And you can get through the doors and into the bathroom.
Yeah, I think it's 2 foot, 10-inch doors is a requirement.
That I would not know. Is that right? Okay, and you'll have an elevator because you're going to, in most of the buildings or?
So no elevators on the project, all the first floor units. So what is that, 1/3 of the units, 120 units would be built right off the bat for wheelchair accessibility.
Okay. And will you have porta shades for the cars or will they be open parking?
Yes, so we haven't got into that. We like putting carports on the projects, but right now we haven't committed to a certain number.
You can charge extra for that, they'll pay.
Sometimes they pay.
All right, thank you. Very nice project.
Only 1 and 2 bedrooms, correct? You're not gonna have any 3 or 4 bedroom apartments. Okay.
And no efficiencies.
We were planning some efficiencies just to try to get an entry point below $1,000 a month on the rent, but it's a smaller number, maybe 10 or 12 of them.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this? All right, so we have a motion and a second. I will call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
And then item 5, Joe.
Mayor and Council, item 5 is the old City of Tomball warning siren. Taking it and bringing it down to go with the alleyway project and then donating it to the museum. Staff does recommend approval.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve donation of the City of Tomball emergency warning siren to Spring Creek Historical Association and in-kind services for the removal and transportation of the siren to the museum center at 510 North Pine Street.
Motion.
Second.
All right, questions or comments?
Yes, have we talked with the museum and do they have the ability to put it back up?
What they would do is they would be able to come back with their normal grant that they have, and anything that they needed, such as the concrete, the structural engineering, that kind of cost would come back through that.
That would be over and above what we normally help donate to the museum, correct? It would not come out of the museum budget.
I would assume that would come out of the normal 30,000 that we have set aside.
Yes, and that's what I assumed, that they were gonna program that in to one of their reimbursable activities.
So we're donating something, but we're not helping them put it up. Do they want it?
No, they do. We have been in contact with Henry. The board has requested to have rights to the siren.
Okay, because I know that they've had a tough year too with COVID. And they even have people building sidewalks from the subdivision into their property, which is a problem. So they've had a lot of expenses. So I'd like to see if we can help put this up with in-kind services instead of taking it out of the 30,000.
So that would take a motion for them to change that back to in
Yes.
kind for installation as well.
Up to the council.
Well, since I hold the motion, why don't we go ahead and take the motion as it is right now and get it over to them, and then if they so desire the help, let them ask us for it and bring it back up at another meeting and approve it at that point in
Additional.
time. I don't have a problem approving it, but if they don't want us to be involved in it, I certainly don't want to force ourselves on them. I mean, I have no problems. If they want it, that's fine, but I think they need to ask for it.
Ask for it to be put up.
Ask for the in-kind services to put it up. Yes, ma'am. I don't have a problem giving it to them, but there's no reason in saying, yeah, we're gonna do it right now if they're not ready to put it up. That's all I'm saying.
It's just, it'd be a shame to ask them to take it out of their budget.
I'm not asking them to take out the budget. I'm just simply asking them to ask for the help.
So we can't amend the motion now.
I'm not amending my motion.
All right. Unless there are any comments over here, I will call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. Number 6, Dave.
Mayor and council, this item is to approve the sister city organization request for the amount of $160,000 for the German Christmas market that's held on December 10th through the 12th, and the German Heritage Festival on March 25th through the 26th of 2022. The TAC board did approve this request unanimously.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve Tomball Sister City Organization request for $160,000 for Tomball German Market, the 10th through the 12th this year, and the German Heritage Festival, 25th through 26th of 2022.
Motion.
Do we have any questions, comments?
What do we normally give for each one of these events? It seems like it was like $35,000 each time, and that to me is 70,000. We're now at 160,000. Can somebody enlighten me as to why they need so much more?
It's been traditionally since, I think, the last two, not counting the COVID one, it's been moved up to 80 per event. Especially when they went to have the paid employee to help run the events. Last year, we did do less, but it was because they didn't have one of them.
So it is
'Cause it's all
80,000, so I'm just going back further than the 80,000.
Yes,
Okay, that's fine.
it is what's in the budget.
Okay, it's budgeted.
2 events.
Correct.
I understand.
For 2 events.
Anything else? Call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. And you want to tell us about item 7?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council, the next item is the resolution number 2021-40. It's the resolution electing for the city casting its vote for the person to serve on the Board of Directors for the Harris County Appraisal District. The only name on the ballot is Mike Sullivan.
And I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 2021-40 for the Harris County Appraisal District with Mike Sullivan as the person.
So move.
Second.
Questions or comments? Call for the vote. Item 8.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. City staff requests the approval to purchase a natural gas generator for PD. Sorry.
Motion carries unanimously. Sorry, Beth.
We're all revved up about this tonight.
Keeping it moving, keeping it.
That's
moving. City staff requests the approval for the purchase of a generator for the police department. It is through the contract with the state of Texas DIR in the amount of $53,073.71.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the purchase of the natural gas generator for $53,073.71 that Beth just told us about.
So move.
Second.
Questions? Call for the vote. Now we'll wait. for the actual vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. All right, and the next item on the agenda is executive session. And we don't feel that there's really a need to go into executive session because we've already discussed this, unless one of you wants to go in to discuss the finance director. Nope. All right, then we will not have executive session. And David, tell us about number 10.
So Mayor and Council, this item is to confirm my selection for our finance director. Just to give you a little background on the selection, Catherine DuBose, she was the former finance director for the city of West University. So she is very hopeful that you appoint her today.
Because she was.
Yes, because she was the finance director out there. And before that, she was the accounting manager and accounting supervisor for the New Braunfels Utilities. Even before that, her experience goes into still in the utility realm and actually was also an auditor. With all of her experience, it was very, very appealing to us, and especially with the needs that we have. She does have a master's of accountancy, and she also holds a CPA. But I think that's what's above and beyond from all of her experience and her talents that she brings. She is an absolute rising talent that's coming up. I've had great feedback from all of the calls that we made to check references, and actually got chewed out by their a city secretary who was here for a training and said that we stole a great employee from them. So, and I can't be more than excited to have Catherine on the staff, obviously because of her talents, but because of the fit. She is absolutely was great during the interviews. All 3 panels that we had spoke very, very highly, and it was a unanimous decision about going after Catherine. So I request that you confirm the appointment of Catherine DuBose as our finance director.
All right, thank you. And Catherine, just kind of for the record, usually we go into executive session. We're really just eating sandwiches and stuff in there just to make you wait for a while. So that's going on.
But we don't have any sandwiches.
No sandwiches, man.
Somebody forgot to order.
That's right.
So
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to confirm the appointment of finance director Catherine Boyce.
motion.
Second.
Any questions? I'll call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
And now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Call for the vote. No, I don't want the envelope either.
No. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, meeting adjourned at 7:42.